and welcome to Get the Table, another Wrestling Roundtable discussion podcast with myself, Adam Wilmot, and the Dadley boys of WhatCulture, Michael Hamflett and Michael Sidgwick, here to discuss another burning wrestling issue. And that issue today is Money in the Bank is coming to the UK. I have to acknowledge Alex McCarthy of the Daily Mail, who broke this story Saturday, July the 1st at the O2 in London. It is coming to the UK off the back of the success, of course, of, not our show, Clash at the Castle last year. Michael Hamflett, AEW and WWE coming to England in 2023. What a start to the year this is.
Yeah, not before time, truthfully. For years and years and years, WWE would offer the Sky TV only pay-per-views or the odd television tape in the usual house show tours. Clash at the Castle was overdue. AEW, as we know, is overdue. It was something they wanted to do way back in 2020 before the pandemic closed all that down. So it just feels like as good a time as any to, I don't know, celebrate the audience as much as acknowledge them. Like, there's obviously a huge one over here, as proven by Clash at the Castle, and typically great TV ratings for shows that often air late or often air at weird times, in the case of both AEW and WWE. So yeah, more live shows with purpose and meaning rather than just obvious cash grabs or sending half the roster or things like that. Money in the Bank, to be fair, has become one of WWE's tentpole events in recent years. They've been known to label it as the fifth of their big five. So it's certainly an endorsement of the marketplace, which has, you know, been, especially post-pandemic and everything opening back up, been crying out for events of this size again.
Yeah, not to dismiss Clash at the Castle from Wales last year, of course, Sidge, but this does feel like a real statement that we've got Money in the Bank as a premium live event rather than just one they've created for the British audience.
Would we have got it? And of course, I'm going to be the person to say that. Would we have got another UK pay-per-view if AEW weren't coming to the UK this year? That's a genuine good faith question. I'm not just being a dick. I get it. Hopefully, in theory, I get to go and see both. Hopefully, in theory, a lot of wrestling fans go and get to see both. And I think my opinions on WWE's TV product are very clear. I had an absolute blast at Clash at the Castle. What a great time. What a fantastic show. So I'm not complaining. It's a good thing, right? I don't necessarily think you can like both promotions at the same time because they're very different. But on the night, the talent's there, even if the booking isn't for me. So I'm not complaining, but maybe that is why, in fact, it's happening. Can they do like a nice run of Raws in the UK next so that people actually make noise? Because we make a lot of bloody noise, like Clash at the Castle. Honestly, I say this as someone who attended both shows and consider the prestige and how long it'll probably live in the memory, longer than Clash at the Castle, certainly. I was at WrestleMania 30 and Clash at the Castle, and they were both in sort of domed, indoor, massive stadiums. Clash at the Castle was louder. Clash at the Castle was louder than the immense, unforgettable Daniel Bryan WrestleMania 30 triumph. So, great news. Absolutely fantastic news, but do a few Raws over here. I know you do, but do some more. It's noisy.
Now, you guys were lucky enough, obviously, to go to Clash at the Castle. What could we expect from Money in the Bank, and what could they probably learn from the show they had here last year?
I think it sounds like I'm giving WWE a free pass to do as little as possible, but you don't need, like, British fans traditionally don't need the moon on a stick to give you a loud atmosphere, to give you an awesome time. But Clash at the Castle was a reminder that you should have events of consequence and things that matter. I think what was key to the success of Clash at the Castle beforehand, and especially coming afterwards and on people's reflections, was that it did feel like an event that mattered. It did feel like, with Roman Reigns defending the title against Drew McIntyre, it didn't feel like the biggest jumped up house show ever. It didn't quite feel like SummerSlam 1992, and it didn't seem like it was going to leave that kind of cultural footprint or indeed create maybe a generation, but maybe it has done. Obviously, we'll have to wait years to find out if it created a generation of fans. I don't think it did. But I believe everybody that attended that show felt like they got something that mattered, felt like they got something that obviously slotted into the television schedule that could have taken place in any American state. And to be honest, as somebody from the UK, as we all are, you watch more wrestling on the television than you could ever hope to attend live. That's just the way it is with companies being based in America. The one thing from when I was a little kid to now I want to feel when I'm at a live event is that it replicates the wrestling I see on television. If I went to a New Japan show, I would want the blue canvas with the advertising all over it. I would want the ropes and the turnbuckles to be right. I want that authentic experience. And I will say that for Clash at the Castle, they made that show feel like the American fans too had to stop and watch. That was the destination for WWE in that moment. Wherever you were in the world, it was to tune in and see, for example, Roman Reigns defend his title. Money in the Bank again gives me hope and gives me pause to assume that it will be the same. It won't be that Money in the Bank that nobody really remembers because it was in the UK. It'll just fit into the pay-per-view schedule. It's something. It's not particularly nice comparison to make, a pleasant one to make, but it's something you can tell they're trying to do with the Saudi Arabia shows as well. There's been a conscious shift to try and make them just feel like part of the calendar.
That's insidious sports washing.
Yeah.
That was the plan all along.
Yeah, like they were far too cartoonish to be successful as sports washing projects earlier on. So you've seen them now try to make them feel more like part of the calendar. So this project actually works. Ultimately, WWE want to nurture a business in the UK that was based on house show tour tickets over the years pre-pandemic was starting to falter. It was as if like those shows were never selling out anymore. What was once a white hot ticket once upon a time was simply no longer the case. So this feels like attempting to foster that audience, nurture them, and get people back selling out buildings in the UK constantly.
Sige, the Clash at the Castle show was all about talent wrestling in their back garden, basically. In their backyard. You had Ireland's Sheamus and Scotland's Drew McIntyre wrestling in Wales. But are we going to see more British talent showcase? You and I, before we came in here, talked about one name in particular that fits perfect with a show like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, okay. I remember tweeting on the same day as I had to do a really regrettable follow-up tweet, right? I said, and I wanted to campaign, manifest into existence, whatever, Nathan Fraser should have been booked on Clash at the Castle. He should have been built up by commentary as the next, nothing short of the next biggest sensation in professional wrestling. That's how good this guy is. In the ring, lots of work to do as a character, but, you know, that can follow. I thought they should have, because obviously a hometown, but, you know, it's very, very loose. There's a lot of latitude. It was extended to McIntyre. They could have extended it towards Fraser. They should have built him as nothing short of the biggest new sensation in professional wrestling because the kid is absolutely incredible. Like, he blows my mind. They could make a star overnight if they just keep him on NXT for now and then just build him up as like this mystery entrant and then reveal him on the night. And it's now the hometown kid's got a chance. Like, it's a pretty cheesy story, but any overtones of how basic and cheesy that is will be stripped away when you see that guy in a ladder match.
Could even have Regal introduce him.
Could have Regal introduce him, like the rub by proxy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a really good idea, Will
Hey,
Vaughan.
just call me butter, baby. I'm on a roll.
This is absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
They could create an overnight sensation. I'm not saying he has to win the match, but he could star in it. They could build much of it around him. I just think that, you know, WWE, even now, has got this problem of taking ages to really pull the trigger on a talent. Like someone like Montez Ford.
Yeah.
Why has he not had that breakout singles run? What really are they waiting for? And I know Dawkins is great as well, but I think Montez Ford is the guy who can really, really do that. The roster's aging. The byproduct of an aging roster is kind of revealing itself. We know that Drew McIntyre has been plagued by injuries. AJ Styles is the latest. This is what happens when you get an older, broken down roster with significant wear and tear. So I think for my personal subjective enjoyment of the professional wrestler Nathan Fraser, and indeed the future of the company, he should debut at Money in the Bank on the main roster. I manifested this on the week of Clash at the Castle, or like in and around it, and then guess what the YouTube video from his exploits on NXT said?
I don't know.
The title of that YouTube video, like 12 hours after my tweet. Nathan Fraser reads comics with Axiom. Which, okay, that's a good idea too, I guess. That's a good idea.
Yeah, both good ideas.
Yeah, that segment on that episode of NXT was very goofy.
But we saw Butch, briefly as part of the Sheamus thing at Clash at the Castle, of course. He could be involved in the Money in the Bank ladder match. And you got other names, lots of great British talent. I'm probably not going to get time to mention them all on the WWE roster, but immediately I'm thinking of the likes of Pretty Deadly from
Yes,
NXT.
boy!
Yes, boy!
They could jump up to the main roster or just have a match. They've been feuding with the New Day at the end of the day recently. Dewdrop's already on the main roster. Tegan Knox has just returned to WWE. You're spoiled for choice, really.
Yeah, it's a nice crop of wrestlers to work with, and they should probably, like the beauty of Money in the Bank, obviously, it's 2 6-person ladder matches, so you've got opportunity to put them all in there if you want. And Nathan Fraser is a perfect example of that. You could have Pete Dunne, Butch in a featured match rather than that, and then that gives like more of a showcase spot than it would, as Drew got against Roman Reigns. Truthfully, I still think it comes down to star power first of all. I think they're like, Britain is they're smaller than most states. So they may as well be from their hometown in comparison to where some Americans like travel to for their hometowns when they wrestle in America. However, I think it sometimes gets overstated slightly, the need to put locals in key spots. Ultimately, it's great if the story's there. It's great if somebody's been built on television. If Butch in July is where Sami Zayn is, as we record this right now in January, and suddenly feels in and around the title picture, then that is absolutely the place to do Butch versus Roman Reigns. Never thought this would be a match, but here we are, and it's going to be in London, England. Fantastic. If not, don't force it. If anything, get pops in matches that would otherwise not generate quite a reaction, not be quite as loud, but suddenly have the crux of a wrestler fighting in their hometown just to generate the heat. People want to buy tickets to see the huge stars, kind of no matter where they're from. That's always been the case.
Well, one of your favourite matches from last year, just thought, was obviously Gunther versus Sheamus.
That was incredible.
If Gunther's still Intercontinental Champion by the time Money in the Bank comes around, would you do like, him versus Tyler Bate potentially, or obviously Butch?
Sheamus himself has been campaigning for that rematch. I don't know if he's trying to manifest it on Twitter or if he's been told it's probably going to happen, so build it quietly on your socials ahead of that. What was your other suggestion?
Tyler Bates.
It was one of the best matches in WWE history. One of the only good things that NXT UK did. Yeah. Not quite enough to justify its existence, in my opinion, but that match was unbelievable. So yeah, run that back. It was unbelievable. Tyler Bates, still absolutely incredible. Like, there's rumours persist that his heart's not in it as much as it was. He's still unbelievable on NXT, the fleeting appearances he's made on that brand. Gunther versus anyone would be an absolutely tremendous match. Don't forget Britain's Bayley. Do not forget Britain's Bayley. She is like, we've kind of taken ownership of Bayley at this point. Like, the only really positive or negative massive star reaction she has got upon her return was a Clash at the Castle. Just woefully miscast. She has to turn babyface at some point. Her immense talents are being squandered, and if they are going to launch a babyface turn, do it in and around Money in the Bank, because people will go absolutely ballistic for it.
This nation will never forget that 2015 NXT tour.
The 2015
ever.
NXT tour was by a considerable distance the best house show I've ever been to. And I've been to several WWE house shows in Newcastle. And the idea was, I've been to ones in like 1993 in Whitley Bay. It's a deep cut, that. I've been to ones in 1999 in the Attitude Era, like Ruthless Aggression, PG. And the NXT December 2015 UK tour, like, the people who attended that will never forget it. Yeah, I've forgotten all the house show cards I've been to pretty much. I have to go on cagematch.net to dig up the obscurity of the Whitley Bay show that I went to see in 1993. I can give you the whole card for that Newcastle show. And one match was the Revival versus American Alpha. Yeah. And they went about 15, 20 minutes and gave you an NXT TV level match. And everyone was walking along, singing a song in a Jason Jordan Wonderland. Yeah. And they couldn't believe.
And the No Limit Jordan Gable thing that then went viral through, I think it was the Blackpool leg of the tour, was it? When it was in the Empress Ballroom as well. Yeah. So that ended up making it back to America, that chant, because it was just clearly so popular that the American fans wanted to go on that too.
And people just love Bayley. Like, the NXT product of 2015 is my personal favourite. Yeah. And Jesus Christ, like, people have just remembered Bayley. So she's the hometown hero. Yeah. I'm not taking the piss either. People, you heard it at Clash at the Castle.
Yeah. Glasgow, when it distracted Sasha Banks, she couldn't hear Charlotte's promo of all that music. So, great night.
Well, speaking of baby faces, I realise that I'm incredibly biased here, and I'm maybe manifesting more than speaking in terms of what could actually happen. But he is the voice, I'm fairly certain, of WWE on Sky Sports. Could Simon Miller be involved in this? It's not a stretch. Well, it is, but it's not that much.
They would take Simon Miller, make him learn how to work in the Performance Centre for 5 years. What an asinine question.
He didn't ask us to discuss this, by the way. This is not something that he drove and asked us to pepper in as a bullet point so we could manifest it. He doesn't need us to manifest for him a spot.
I'd love to bloody see it.
They'd be lucky to get him for the night, quite frankly.
I'd love to bloody see it, but he has to learn how to work. And does he know where the hard camera is?
Yeah. His brief time in WCPW, Imagine just
It's a rhetorical question, dickhead.
Could you give Simon a sea of Simon? Give this an up signs.
Is this
put him in a dark match or something?
Is this a bullet point for your copy on the podcast?
A little bit, but also, but also, manifesting.
I'd love to see it.
Oh yeah, absolutely love to see it. Like I say, they would be lucky to get him, and there'd be tons of people in that building that would be glad to get him there as well.
Yeah, if he's not
We
there.
were there in person at Clash at the Castle.
It's crazy,
and
yeah.
honestly, it was like walking with the Beatles in 1965 in the streets of Liverpool. I'm not even taking the piss.
Yeah.
We couldn't get to the stadium. Well, we got there in time, but it's a good job we left in as much time as we did.
Yeah.
That's how over and great that man is.
You can't go into the building with him, can you? Because you think you're 5 minutes away from your seat, you're 55 minutes away. Like between
Yeah.
the entrance of the building and actually getting sat down.
And he's the best with fans, and his fans are great with him. And you think, I've got a bit of following on these podcasts. No, absolutely not. Miller's the draw.
Well, it's over to you, WWE. If you don't book him, we're going to ruin the show. Anyway, let us know your thoughts ahead.
That's so sinister. What are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do?
I'll do it.
Let us know your thoughts ahead of Money in the Bank coming to the UK this summer in the comments section below. Like, share, subscribe. Subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts, and continue the conversation on Twitter at WhatCulture WWE. You can follow Michael Hamflett on Twitter at
Michael Hamflett.
You can follow Michael Sidgwick on Twitter at
M. Sidgwick.
You can follow me on Twitter at Adam Wilborn. You can follow Simon Miller at Simon Miller 316. You can follow us all.
I've got your kids, Dad.
WWE. But for now, this has been Get the Table. My thanks to the Dadley Boys. Thank you for joining us. And we'll see you soon.